have kept Joey and Kincaid and even Kristen on, maybe throughout, to the ending of the film.
Yeah.
But anyway, any final thoughts on the Dream Master, Nightmare 4? Hello?
No, I don't think so. I
Alright.
don't have it.
Alright, so now we're going to move on to A Nightmare on Elm Street Part 5, The Dream Child. Chris, your thoughts?
This one to me is definitely where the series it's very comedic. This one, I like the dark atmosphere that they captured. It's like a gothic, type feel to it. I do like that, but just the comedy that goes with it, it just kind of cancels out the. I don't know. It's like they tried to bring it back to what it was, and the comedy just outweighed the darkness that they tried to do. They tried to make some
Yep.
stuff dark, which it did work out. Some stuff was actually pretty good, but the kills, man, the kills, not too big of a fan of. Other than Dam's kill, I'm not a big fan of like Super Freddy. I just that scene kind of pisses me off. The Super Freddy, I just don't like that kill. I know they was trying to do something creative, but that just wasn't my cup of tea. The Greta kill, that was pretty good. It was pretty decent with the food getting shoved in her mouth and everything. That was pretty disgusting, all the food coming out and everything. But the film to me is just kind of an average film, and I do skip over it from time to time. I definitely think it is a step down from part 3 and 4, and to me, it's where the series goes downhill, in my opinion.
Yep. What about you, Jeremy?
I totally agree. That Greta scene. Apparently, they told her not to eat anything while she was wearing the makeup, but she ate spaghetti, and it was stuck in the bottom of the makeup all day, and she was just like, that's all she could smell all day, and apparently, yeah.
Huh.
uh,
What about you, Vanessa?
Um, yeah, I agree. I don't really like the Dream Child. It was, I don't know. I feel like they kind of targeted a different audience in this one. There was like a lot of women issues in this movie, which yeah, it's really different. And I also didn't like how they didn't have like any like they didn't have the boiler room, or they didn't show the Elm Street house inside or
Yeah.
out. But yeah, I agree. I don't really like this one.
Alright, what about you, Mike?
This movie sucks. It's completely forgettable. Like I don't remember any of it except for that one kill with the motorcycle. That was pretty good effects, but it was really too comedic and not really that entertaining. Yeah.
Yeah. The thing for me about Nightmare 5 is, there's aspects of it that I like, and then aspects of it that I really dislike. One thing is, like you said, Chris, it did have a good feel to it. I like the gothic tone, and they really tried to go back to the darkness from the first film and make it a lot darker than it was in 2, 3, or 4. And take there was comedic elements to it, but they really they slimmed it down. But by this point, that the rules had already been established. Freddy was
Oh,
already an icon. You cannot go back after that. There's got to be comedy in there, and the half-ass origin of Freddy, um, with Amanda Kruger being raped, and Freddy being the seed of, like, I don't know, 100 or 1,000 maniacs or whatever it was.
1,000 maniacs, bastard son.
It's his their bastard son. Uh, yeah, it could have worked. I mean, it wasn't bad, but it wasn't great either. Kind of throw, oh, he's a son of 1,000. He's the bastard seed of 1,000 maniacs. That makes sense. He's
shit.
Freddy Krueger. Where he's worse in death than he was in life. But I really like the darkness to it. And I like that they brought Lisa Wilcox back as Alice. I think she was another good part in this film. I like her acting a lot. Um, Yeah, I mean, I find some enjoyment out of it, and but still, it's not one of my favorites. And I definitely agree with the fact that it's, it's, it's what started the downfall of the franchise, and from here, things get a little bit worse each time for me. Yeah, that is Nightmare 5, The Dream Child, and does anybody have any final thoughts on this film?
Nope.
Bastard son of a thousand maniacs.
Mm.
Okay, so now we're going to move on to Nightmare on Elm Street Part 6, Freddy's Dead. Okay, so,
Oh god.
Chris, your thoughts?
Uh, um, Obviously, it's not a good film. Just saying that right off the bat, it's not going to win any awards. But I don't look at it as a serious film, and I actually find enjoyment out of it. Again, I'm not saying it's a good film, but I just find it fucking hilarious to sit back and watch it. I just love how it's so cartoony, and
Yeah.
compared to Part Five, I just feel that Robert Englund he was wore out by then because there's a line he said he's like. I'm trying to think of the exact line. I think he said, "Bad year, Dan," and it just sounded so cheesy, and it just didn't sound like Robert Englund. It sounded like he was so tired. But in this one, I could just tell that he was having some fun, and it made me have fun in return. I know it's a shitty film, but I kind of like it. I find some enjoyment out of it.
All right, what about you, Jeremy?
Uh, all I can really say is that I agree with Chris. I do not look at this film as I look at it as a, horror comedy, and I do find enjoyment out of it when I watch it. It's pretty bad, but it is still got that comedy in it that we are used to when it comes to the later Nightmare films,
Yeah.
and it has a lot of it.
Yeah.
A lot.
What do you think, Vanessa?
Yeah, I agree. I don't really like this movie, but I did like the comedy sometimes. Sometimes it was like pretty funny, sometimes it wasn't. But yeah, like the main character, I don't even know, John, I think his name was. I don't know, I really didn't like him.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's all I have to say.
His name is John Doe.
Yeah, I know. What a terrible name.
What about you, Mike?
Yeah, this movie's pretty hilarious.
Yeah.
That death scene with Carlos, and then his ear comes down, and it takes Freddy a second to think of a line, and he's like, "Nice hearing from you, Carlos." It was hilarious.
Great
and there's
graphics.
There's that commercial with Johnny Depp and Freddy Krueger. That was pretty hilarious.
Yeah.
The crackhead Spencer. That was pretty funny.
They
And
did
then
make a
there's-
fun game of that.
There's a Nintendo Power he was playing with.
Great graphics.
It was just really ridiculous, and they
Yeah.
actually made it comedic to where it was entertaining. And I'm trying to think. Oh yeah, and they killed him in a stupid way. It was pretty dumb.
Ending was pretty bad.
Yeah.
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 What was it? I'm trying to think. Don't scream out, the bus is in motion.
Mhm. Yeah.
Yeah, well, I think to sum this film up, the biggest stars in this film are Tom and Roseanne Arnold.
Yeah. That's saying something.
So, I mean, that pretty much sums it up. That's the most noticeable names in this film, other than Robert Englund. I mean, you have Breckenmeyer in there.
Yeah.
Johnny Depp, probably another one of the biggest stars in there. He was just had a little cameo. I mean, it's a guilty pleasure of mine. Everyone knows that it is one of my guilty pleasures. I do find enjoyment out of it, but yeah, it's pretty bad. It is a piece of shit. I'll acknowledge that, much like I will acknowledge that for Texas Chainsaw Massacre, the next generation, new generation. But Yeah, not much more. Nothing I could say about it that hasn't already been said. It's
Yeah,
um,
pretty much A Nightmare on Elm Street, the next generation.
yeah, the next generation. So yeah, without let's not spend any more time on Freddy's Dead. Let's move on to Nightmare on Elm Street, the New Nightmare Part 7. So, Chris.
Okay. Well, that's the thing. With this one, I watched it as a kid, and obviously being a little kid, I was, it kind of did freak me out. It was scary in places. I have this thing where I do somewhat like it in some ways, but then it's the biggest problem to me is that it just cancels out all the films. It says
Yep.
that they are actually films. They're just that. They're films. And it kind of pisses me off because I love part 1, 3, and 4. I love those films. And I just kind of felt that they was like, Wes Craven was just saying a big fuck you to the franchise, to
Yep.
the sequels that followed. And I didn't like that. I mean, I think it is a good, it's a good directed film. It's a well film. The acting's good. I like to see, Heather Langenkamp back. And Robert England, but I don't know. I think it's a little bit better than average, I guess. I'm not a huge fan of it.
Yeah. All right. What about you, Jeremy?
Pass. Not talking about it.
All right. What about you, Vanessa?
I actually haven't seen this one, so yeah.
All right. What about you, Mike?
Well, see, I think what I liked about the film was it really did have a good atmosphere to it. Um, at least in my opinion, like the way I think they get dragged down the hill by Freddy. That was a pretty great scene.
Yeah.
Um, I think his makeup looked pretty good. He did look kind of darker, like he had a black coat on and a green and red sweater. And he had like this kind of skeleton glove. I think it looked pretty badass. I just can't remember that much of it, honestly.
Uh, uh, New Nightmare for me is one of my least favorites out of the franchise. I did not like the realism factor. Didn't like how it was like, oh, those are just movies, like you said, Chris, and it's like bringing Freddy Krueger into the real world. It just I didn't like it. I like how they brought Heather Langenkamp back, and I like Wes Craven coming back to the series to direct, and it just could have been so much better. It really could have. Robert England, you could definitely tell he was getting done with the franchise. It was near
Oh,
the
yeah.
end for him. He wasn't, John Saxon came back. I mean, there was a lot of people from the original back working, whether it be on the cast, whether it be behind the scenes. I don't know, and it hurts me to say I don't like it because I think it could have been so good, but I've never really had a love for New Nightmare, and I don't think I ever will. Too many issues for me to get past, and yeah, it's one of my least favorites out of the franchise. But another thing that I didn't like, me personally, I know you did, Mike. I didn't like the way Freddy looked at all. I felt like the makeup, it really looked like a rubber mask, kind of like it did in Freddy's Dead. Actually, looking at a picture of it right now, and it just looks, I don't know, looks kind of bad.
Honestly, I haven't seen it in a long time.
But yeah, just too many issues with this film for me to get past. So that's why I really dislike it. And the fact how they brought Freddy into the real world. I haven't seen it in a long time, but from what I remember, uh, everything that they had done, all the movies, all the fame and everything, they were going to stop doing it, or they were going to make one more Nightmare on Elm Street film, and that's what brought him back to life. Exactly what brought him back to life, because it's been a few years since I've seen the film. Hello.
What?
Does anybody know what brought him back to life?
Yeah,
I
it's
don't
been
remember.
since I've seen it. But I think they said that within the Nightmare on Elm Street franchise, the story, they captured some demon, and if they didn't keep on making films, that the demon would get released. I have no fucking idea. It's not a great. That's what I remember.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. I don't know. Not much more to say about it. For me, I just really don't like it. Anybody have any final thoughts on New Nightmare?
No, not really.
No. No.
Uh, not really.
Okay, so
Well, there is one thing I'd like to say,
okay,
but it's not about any of the films. It's just a movie that I would have liked to have seen.
Okay.
I think it's Peter Jackson. You told me about this, Chris.
Oh yeah.
Dream Lover. Do you want to tell like the kind of like the general plot for Dream Lover?
Well, for part 6, Peter Jackson had a script that was going to be, could have been used, called Dream Lovers, and it was going to be Freddy was powerless and this and that, and they'd sleep on purpose just to come and kick Freddy's ass, and then he pretty much conjures up a little bit of power, kills one, and he's back to, being Freddy. That'd have been cool to see instead of Freddy's dead, but we got what we got.
Oh yeah, I think that would have been really cool. I've actually heard about that myself. I think that would have been way better than Freddy's Dead.
Yeah.
So yeah, no final thoughts on New Nightmare. Let's move on. We're gonna skip past Freddy versus Jason, simply
there you go.
because
I'm just kidding.
it's
Outrageous.
more of a it feels like an arcadey top film to me, and the fact that it has both Freddy and Jason, and I don't know, it just feels like kind of like a duel. It's like a crossover movie for me, so I just figure we'll leave that out of the actual Nightmare on Elm Street franchise. But there's one more that we have to talk about because I'm pretty sure all of us have to shit on this movie.
Oh my god.
And calm down, no, and
I'm gonna die.
it is the Nightmare on Elm Street remake. So
Oh god.
I am going to give you I'm going to give you, Chris, the opportunity to talk about this film first.
Fuck this movie. I loathe it. Pass.
You guys are going to probably disagree with me on this, but I absolutely hate this movie.
Yeah, dude, what's wrong? 10 out of 10.
The wall scene, like, I hate that. The freaking CGI, it looked so much better in the original.
Yeah, dude.
The makeup. Okay, so I'm pretty sure I told Chris this before, and Jordan, I think Mike might have been in there. Freddy does look like an actual burnt victim. I saw a dude on TV who was in the war that hit a roadside bomb, and half of his face was blown off, and after plastic surgery, he looked exactly like Freddy from Michael Bay's remake. Which is sad, to that family, but still. I know that he said that they wanted to make him realistic, but why? It's a dude that kills you in your sleep. How's that even realistic? And the freaking garden glove that becomes his freaking weapon of destruction. Why? And that freaking voice. That always was my favorite dress. You need a cough drop? You sound congested, dude. Vanessa, what's your thoughts?
Yeah. Yeah, it's a terrible movie. I really think the remake is really, really bad. The acting was bad. The CGI was terrible, and yeah, I disagree with everything you said already. So.
It's shit.
Hey, man, brother.
Just ask me about the movie.
Your thoughts, Mike?
Thanks to this lovely group, I had to watch it last night.
I'm
It was,
sorry.
it was pretty terrible. The acting was just way crap. Freaking teenage crap. It's just the CGI looks so bad too. And his voice sounded like Batman, but and the whole him making him a child profile and him but just like throwing it in your face was kind of way too. I don't know.
Yeah.
He lives in a preschool basement. What the fuck?
Yes, and then he has a secret cave.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I'm like, wow, okay.
yeah.
That priest
Um,
never was inspected, apparently.
I think there is a plot hole about him involving the glove, because I don't remember them ever talking about how he made the glove, or, yeah, it was pretty dumb.
Yeah. Well, Rorschach is in this fucking movie, so that's all I can say about it. I mean, Jackie Earl Haley. Okay, if you're going to make a Nightmare on Elm Street film, and I can understand with any remake, you're going to want to have differences, but to me, if Robert England cannot do it, if he's unavailable, if he's I don't know if he's sick, if he's got food poison, if he's stuck on the shitter, he can't move, whatever it may be, if he just doesn't want to do it, don't do the movie. It's not going to work without Robert England. He has held these films
Isn't.
together throughout all of the years. Everyone loves Robert England as Freddy Krueger. You can't get past it. So to expect going into a remake and putting a new Freddy Krueger, Jackie Earl Haley, it's going to get bad reviews. No one's going to like it right off the bat. As a director, if I was a director, filmmaker, which I want to be, but I would have that mindset to where this is just not going to work without Robert England going into it. You can't expect it to be a success. Nancy,
Oh my fuck.
Oh,
Rooney,
God.
Rooney,
Oh my God,
Rooney,
she
fucking
sucks.
Mara. Okay, Rooney Mara.
The dude with the beanie was better.
Quentin.
Oh, that druggie?
Quentin felt more like a main character.
Yeah, that
Mhm.
Rooney did. Rooney Mara was this little whiny bitch. Okay, I'm sorry. She was whiny. She was a goth. I just didn't like it. She felt like she wanted to cut her wrists every part of the
Complete
movie.
opposite of Heather Langenkamp.
Yeah, Heather Langenkamp is this bright and joyful teenager who's just like caught off guard by these horrible things. Rooney Mara's like, I want to die. Like,
I
then
like to
Freddy
cut
Krueger's
in.
like, I'll help you out.
Can I cut in?
No, I'm just kidding.
No, oh, in the middle of the movie, they tried to feel sympathetic to him, which was stupid. It's like, oh, you just killed an innocent man. Like, he's killing your friends. How can you say he's innocent?
Yeah,
And then
I know.
the next thing you know, Nancy sees a dead body down the hallway. I'm like, innocent man?
Yeah,
Yeah.
I feel bad for a fucking fucker who lives in a preschool basement.
No, another thing. Let's talk about
Obviously raped
Jackie Earl Haley's his appearance as Freddy Krueger. I know you've kind of touched upon this, Jeremy, but his
Looks like a fucking
part of
turtle.
his mask being CGI was. Why would you
An
do
alien.
that? Why would you CGI part of the mask that? And then you have the parents in this who are like, "We killed a man, but we don't care."
Yeah.
You,
It
you
does
just
nothing
killed a
to
man,
us.
honey. It's not a big
Yeah,
deal. You go back to the original. Nancy's mom's a fucking drunk. She's like, Nancy, she's and her dad's like so distant from her mom and her. Like, they divorced and because they killed a man. They killed a man. This one, they're like, would you like any tea? We just killed a man, but I mean, they killed a man years ago, but they tried to suppress the memory of the kids getting raped, and somehow it worked. I don't know how.
Lost them or something?
How could you suppress the memory of like 9 kids? Like, how could you? I mean, getting
They
raped
did.
will be a pretty vivid memory. I figure that would stick with your
Yeah.
imagination for quite, with your mind for quite a while if you were actually raped as a kid. I mean,
Yeah, that made no sense. I don't know how they got rid of that.
press all these kids. Like, how are we going to do it? Oh, it's very simple. I don't know. Everything about this movie was a downfall.
Now watch the watch go back and forth.
Jackie
I
Earl
mean,
Haley. Jackie Earl Haley made me feel sorry for him because he looked like a burn victim, like a legitimate real life burn victim. I don't know. There's one thing I like in this movie, one line, and that's I don't even remember the kid's name. I don't know. I don't give a fuck. But he's hanging
We'll call
upside
him
down, and Freddy is going to kill him, and he says, it takes, I don't know. I don't even know the exact line. There's a few minutes before the heart stops beating or something like that. So that gives us.
There's 7 minutes where your brain is still working, where
Yeah.
your heart just stopped beating.
Yeah. That was pretty cool. I did enjoy that in the theaters too, but other than that, fuck it.
Yeah, they never really investigated the cave when he killed the man. And the pictures are still there.
Now the
Everything
pedophile
was still
thing,
there.
if they wouldn't have thrown that in our face so much, like he raped these kids, like okay, we know, we get that. Now
It's Freddy Krueger.
we know.
We know he touched them. We know he took
Now the whole pedophile
photographs.
backstory, I don't mind it simply because that was the route they were planning on going with the original film. Wes Craven had the plan to make him a child pedophile. There was a lot of things going on at the time, and the studio wanted him to be a child killer instead.
Yeah.
So I
But it
don't mind the
worked.
pedophile background. I don't mind it that much. It's not a huge deal to me, considering Wes Craven was going to do that himself in the original film.
I kind of get that in the original, series that he does do stuff like that.
Yeah.
I mean, he
But they don't throw it in your
gets
face
up
like
close
they
and
don't.
personal with Nancy and stuff. Like,
They don't shove it down your throat though.
yes, it isn't like it's like subtle. It's not right there in your throat.
Yeah, it's not like he tries to freaking finger Nancy from his glove.
I don't
Uh,
know. It's not a good film.
Katie Cassidy plays a character named Chris in the film, and that is the
Oh, God.
replacement for Tina. Wow, that was so terrible. That was just
Go, there's the phone going off.
so bad. But yeah, I think we've spent enough time on Nightmare on Elm Street, the remake, and I'm all well.
Oh my
It
God.
it was really nice.
That's all I have to say about it.
Okay. I don't think
It was,
anyone has
pieces.
any. I don't think anyone has any final thoughts on this film. So,
No.
okay, move on to the end of this late night frights horror chat. The series in a whole, to me, it's had its ups and downs. Most like any other franchise that you come across, it has its good and bad. But I really enjoy it. I think it's a very unique franchise. In the story, Freddy Krueger kill you in your dreams. Trying to kill these kids in their dreams. That's the original story. That's how it started. And, things changed down the line. The rules got twisted, but that's one concept that kind of stayed the same. That's what I like. They didn't change anything because if there was a Nightmare on Elm Street movie where he wasn't in your dreams, I mean, even in New Nightmare, he was still in their dreams. But if it just wouldn't work, obviously. So I'm glad they stuck with that same formula, and that's why so many of the films worked. Even the bad ones still had good dream sequences. So yeah, not much more to say about that other than Robert Englund, like I've said many times in this chat, he's the best part about the franchise, hands down, no doubt.
Hands down, no doubt. Agreed.
The one who holds it together, and it's a shame that he's conning people out of $300 because he's to see him again after he said it was going to be the last time that he ever appeared in donning the Freddy Krueger attire, even though he wasn't in the costume. He was in a black fucking turtleneck.
Yeah.
And I mean, he seemed like a really cool dude, but now he's conning people out of a lot of money. But he will still be Freddy Krueger in all of our hearts. So,
Oh yeah.
love the
Definitely.
franchise. What about you, Chris? What's your thoughts over the entire series as a whole?
My thoughts on the franchise.
Yep.
I think it's a really good franchise. Not my favorite. My favorite is Halloween, but it's probably my second favorite franchise. Freddy Krueger is probably my second favorite horror icon. I do prefer him over Jason. I know a lot of people
Oh
don't.
yeah, me too.
But,
Can somebody, whoever has their phone vibrating, can they mute their mic, please?
I think we all know who that is. No, just kidding.
He'll get down to you. It's no big deal, but. What were you saying, Chris?
I said what? I'll just go. I'll repeat it. I said pretty much. I like the whole franchise as a whole, as its ups and downs. My favorites are the first, second, and the first, third, and fourth. I think Robert Englund does a fantastic job as Freddy Krueger. He'll always be Freddy Krueger in my heart, and Freddy Krueger is definitely one of my favorite horror icons. He's probably my second favorite horror icon behind Michael. I prefer him over Jason. I prefer this series over the Friday 13th series. Just in my opinion, though.
Yep, I do too. What about you, Jeremy? Hibbly Jibbly?
Well, I'll have to agree there with Chris. I do prefer this film over Friday the 13th. Freddy is probably my second favorite horror icon as well. And yeah,
All right, what
not
about you,
much else to say
Vanessa?
about it.
Huh?
Final thoughts, Vanessa?
Oh,
the series?
yeah, as a whole franchise, I do think it's very creative and unique and something different. So, yeah, I really like the Nightmare on Elm Street franchise.
All right, Mike.
I mean, everything's been said before. Great. Robert Englund is a great Freddy Krueger and is a great villain. Obviously, you'll never rival to his Freddy Krueger character, but it's a great memory to have the living playing as your villain, and Sandra Haley is a bitch.
Totally agree. Totally agree. Really like Jackie Earl Haley and Watchmen, but just could not cut it in The Nightmare on Elm Street. So I think we've all said everything that we have to say about the Nightmare on Elm Street franchise. And yeah, want to thank everyone for tuning in to our Late Night Fridays Horror Chat number 9. Hope everyone enjoyed it. Hope everyone has stuck with us this long. I know it's been a long video. So yeah, stay tuned, guys. Next week we will be doing another Horror Chat number 10 over the Friday the 13th franchise. So we'll be going over all those films. So stay tuned for that. Comment down below if you would like to be a part of that. We'll have some fans and viewers in that Late Night Fridays Horror Chat. And yeah, anybody have any final things to say to all of our viewers out there?
Bon appetit, bitch!
If you come in this chat, be sure to wear my favorite dress.
Roach Motel. You can check in, but you can't check out.
Wait, that's Psycho. What?
What?
That's Norman Bates.
Thanks for watching, guys.
Yep, thanks for watching. Stay tuned. This week on Late Night Fridays we have a really cool theme planned. Hope everyone enjoys that.
It was my idea. No, I'm just kidding.
Okay.
Hello.
So one final thing to say. Welcome to my world,
awkward
bitch.
silence.
That is the annual Late Night Fridays awkward silent moment right there.
All right, guys. Thanks
Yeah.
so much for watching. And till next time, guys. Comment, subscribe, and keep it horror. Woo.
Peace.
Peace.
I love you all.
Without you, we are nothing.
Thanks, guys.